Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sarah from Handmade After Dark. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and welcome to Thursday Tech. So this is my monthly technique based class, and this month we are using the masks. So there are a number of stamp sets that have masks, and if you're not confident with colouring, masks are a really great way to colour your images easily, and also to get variation in the color and depth and texture that makes the images look realistic. So if you're not comfortable doing that, say with the blends, the masks are a really good way to do it. And you don't have to have a lot of different colors. You can actually use just one or two colors depending on the image. You can get away with just having one or two and just build up the layers that way. And you can also use them on their own or with stamped images, and I'm going to show you both. So we are going to start with just the masks, so no stamping, just ink blending. So I'll just switch my camera around, and we are using the masks from the Snowy Delights bundle. So this is the stamp set, and there's coordinating dies that go with it. You can stamp the snowflake and then use the masks on that image. For this one, we're going to use the mask without stamping, and we're only going to use two colors. So the masks are all numbered. So for the Snowy Delights, there are 4, and so they are numbered 1 to 4. So you want to go in that order. So we're going to start with number 1, and you'll see there's a little notch at the top, and that is to help you, when you move to the next mask, get that in the right spot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock, and so I've just got some grid paper just in case. But I'm going to stick that down. Now, personal preference, I like to secure my cardstock just in case, because you don't want things moving around. Generally, it should be okay. This is just my preference. And so for this one, because I don't have a stamped image, I can place the first one wherever I want. So I'm going to go up near the top, just make sure I'm not on the tape, and so I'm going to secure this down as well. And again, this is personal preference. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab, and you can see there's a bit of ink in the notch, so I'm just going to mark where that notch is, and then also just a couple of other lines around the mask, and that just helps you to know, or to get the placement right for the next one. Most people just get away with using the notch. I like to have a few extra marks, but that's just me. So the two colors we are going to use for this one are Azure Afternoon and Blueberry Bushel. So Azure Afternoon we'll use for the first 2, and then Blueberry Bushel for the next 2. So we will just grab a blending brush, grab some ink, and you can tap off on the mask, and you can also then pick up from extra ink from the mask as well. And just going to blend that ink, and better to start light and build up the color, because you can always add more, but you can't take it away. And so you can actually, if you want, and particularly with sort of flower and leaf images, which is going to be the next one, you can actually get quite a lot of shading and texture just with one mask. So if you're in a hurry, you can always just go with the first one and then the first of the leaves, and just blend accordingly, have some darker and lighter spots. So you can see I've got, so it's darker over there. I need to add more. I'm not intending to do that for this one, but you can do that if you're in a hurry. And it doesn't have to be perfectly even, because most of the time for most images it's more natural looking if it's not completely even, as long as the ink is blended nicely. Variation in the amount is actually a good thing, depending on the look you're going for, of course. But so I reckon that's just about enough for the first layer. Just make sure everywhere is covered. And then, so then what we'll do, we'll just take off this first one, and we can probably just, so there is the first layer. I'll just put that to the side. We'll grab number 2, and so we'll line up the notch marks, line up the other markings as well, and also just check with the actual image itself to make sure it looks about right. And then we're going to come back in with Azure Afternoon again, and we're going to go a bit darker this time. And we will make the full card from this, and also the next one. So we'll do the full card. And while I remember, so with all my Thursday Tech and also my Funfold Friday classes, so Funfold Friday is similar to Thursday Tech. It's a monthly class, but it's focused on Funfolds, as the name suggests. And if you're on my email list, the Wednesday following each class, I send, with my weekly newsletter, I send out the PDF recipe card with all the products used and all the measurements for the projects, as well as photos and a link to the video so that you can easily find it again. So if you're not already on my email list, just head over to handmadeafterdark.com.au, sign up to my email list, and then you'll get all those PDF recipe cards for both Thursday Tech and Funfold Friday, as well as all the other ones that I send out at various times throughout the year. And if you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the other classes. And it really helps me out, and I do appreciate it. All right, I think that is about enough for that one. So we are done with Azure Afternoon, and we'll just take this one off. So you can see you've got the, even though it's the same color, you can see the difference in the depth. So now we come to number 3. So we'll line that up again. So line up with all the markings. Also check on your actual project itself, make sure it looks about right. Tape it back down just in case, and now we're going to blueberry bushel. So same thing again. Start light, add more till you get the amount that you want. Now with number 3, a lot of the spots where the ink goes are actually quite small, so just make sure you don't miss any. But you can always relay the mask and go again if you have missed any spots. So I reckon that's probably about enough. We will check, see how it's looking. Let's see. Let's go a little bit more. I think that needs just a bit more. The smaller spots on this one can be a little tricky sometimes to get the ink in evenly, but just go back over it. Till you get the amount that you want. I reckon that's probably just about right, and just a little bit more in the center, I think. All right, let's see how that's looking. That looks better, much better. All right, and one more, so number 4. So we will line that up. That's about right, I think. Tape that down, and same again with the blueberry bushel. If you wanted to, you could add in a darker color at this point. So maybe Misty Moonlight or Night of Navy if you want a much darker color, but if you don't want to or you don't have those colors, you can just use what you have and add layers with the same color. Now I just want to check that. I have a feeling it may have, yeah, it started moving on me a little bit, which is one of the reasons I like to tape it down to make sure it doesn't do that. So Let's line that back up. Get that back in place, or at the very least in place where it was at the start. And we'll tape that down. So this is one of the reasons why I do like to tape it down, just to keep it secure. And then we'll go back over everything again. A little bit more in the center, I think. Get that a bit darker. Alrighty, I think that should be enough. Yep, let's put that back. We'll take this off. So there we go. There is masks without stamping. I'll just take that off. So you can see just 2 colors of ink, and you've got lots of different, lots of depth in the colors there. So let's cut that out. Now, where did I put? There they are. So the Snowy Delights dies, you get 2 sheets. You've got these ones, and then you've also got a few more on the next one. So for this, we want this inside outline die. And we want base plate and plate number 2, cutting plate number 3, stick this down, line it up, and I'm going to tape it down just to make sure it doesn't move. Another plate 3, run that through. And actually I'll just move this one out of the way. And there we have our snowflake. And now we will turn that into a card. I have pre-prepared some of the elements beforehand. So we are going to use a blueberry bushel base, and then some Azure Afternoon, a basic white layer, that I've embossed with the birch wood embossing folder, and then I've stamped one of the sentiments from the bundle on basic white and layer that on blueberry bushel. And then I'm also going to bring in, once I find it, some blue, balmy blue sheer ribbon. So let's start layering this together, and make sure I put the ribbon on before I stick this down on the card base. It wouldn't be the first time that I've messed that up. So going to use the liquid glue because it's, particularly when adhering embossing or embossed cardstock, the glue, it tends to stick better. The glue gets into all the little nooks and crannies, all the little ridges, so I find it tends to work a lot better. But use whatever your preferred adhesive is. And seeing as we're here, I may as well stick this one down. Then we will add some of the ribbon. Now, to stick this down, I'm going to use tear and tape, but I'm just, because it's a sheer ribbon, I just want tape in the middle where it will be covered, because otherwise it will show through. So you stick some about there, that should be fine. I'll just add a little bit more. And then we'll also use some tear and tape on the back as well. But we'll get this part down first. So make sure the bit with the adhesive is in the middle where it will be covered. And then we'll add some tear and tape to the back. Oops, let's shuffle that up. There we go. Alrighty. Now we can stick that one down, and seeing as I've got my green glue here, I may as well use it. And seeing as I've got double-sided tape, I may as well make the most of both sides. So we'll get those backings off. down, and then we will get dimensionals out and pop this up on a bunch of dimensionals. Take all the backings off. Nearly there. I think that's all of them. Alrighty, so stick that on down, and then we'll add sentiment, no, add dimensionals to the sentiment. And we'll pop that up over the ribbon down the bottom. One more, two more. That's all of them. So put that in the middle, covering the bit of adhesive over there. And then all we need to do for this one is find some gems. Where have my gems gone? They're up here. They are hiding. Where are they hiding? Come on. Here they are. So these are the traditional sparkling sequins, and I think we'll go with the blue ones, which are Pool Party. So we'll go one in the middle, and then just a few, go some of the medium ones as well. Don't have to all be large ones. And what do you reckon in there? Fold that over, and there we go. So that is the first one. So that is the masks without stamping, and for the masks with stamping, I am using the Layers of Beauty stamp set. So the masks colour this image here, and there's also dies that go with that. So I have pre-stamped the image, so just in Memento Black. And for this one, I am using, for the flower, I'm using Fresh Freesia, Berry Burst, and Blackberry Bliss. And then for the leaves, I'm using Old Olive and Mossy Meadow. But you can always get away with less than that. At the end, I have a couple of other samples to show you, one for each of the the masks in different colors, and the other one for this uses just 2 colors for the flower. So we will bring our paper back in and we will adhere this down. Now the main difference with this, with getting the masks sorted at the start, is just that obviously you need to line them up with the stamped image, and you also need to find your masks. That helps. Here we go. So this one, the Layers of Beauty masks, there are 5. So 3 for the flowers and 2 for the leaves. So as with the others, they are all numbered. So we start, of course, with number 1. So first things first, you just need to line it up. So line it up with the stamped image. So it'll be colouring all the main, well, all the flowers. So just, it's pretty easy to line up. You just make sure all your flowers are showing through. That looks about right. And I'm going to stick this down. And same thing again, you've got the little notch. I'm going to mark that, but also a few spots around, and obviously just be mindful of any markings from previous ones. And I just need to be careful there that I don't mark on my actual paper, and it's just moved on me, so let me line that back up, stick that down. I might add a little bit more just to make sure, because it has shifted slightly, and it's not a disaster because it's still fairly easy to line it up, because you'll be able to see where everything needs to be. All right, so first layer, I'm going with Fresh Freesia. Now let me bring all of my blending brushes back in. Find my, that's my green one. All right, so we are going with the Fresh Freesia first, and same as before, start light, build up the color. I like to hold the mask down as well, and generally you will when doing this anyway, just to make sure it doesn't move. So you can add, as I was saying before, if you're in a hurry and you just want to do 1 or maybe 2 layers of the masks rather than all of them, you can easily add depth just with the first mask and just have, some parts darker, some parts lighter, and do it that way. So for example, like there's a little bit darker there, and I haven't done it deliberately at this point, but if I wanted to, I could add extra color in some parts. Let's say add a bit more to the bottom of the leaves here. Oh, not leaves, petals. And we'll add a little bit to the top. So you can see you've got darker and lighter areas. I'm going to add a little bit more in here though. And you can do that regardless of whether you're doing all the layers or just some of them. but if you are in a hurry and just want to do the one, it's a good option. So I reckon we're just about done with this first layer. Alrighty, so that is the fresh freesia done, and we'll take these off. And so that's how it looks once you've done the first layer. So you can see the different gradient, and then we'll line up again, try and work out which is the right one. No, it goes this way, doesn't it? The top one was for the snowflake. And although you want to obviously line up with that notch, just also check that it does match with all your other pieces, so that everything is as it should be. So I reckon that's about right. Tape it down just to be sure. And this time I'm going to bring in Berry Burst. So definitely, particularly as you go darker, definitely don't be too heavy-handed to start with. Add more as you go until you get what you want, rather than going too heavy and then not being able to pare it back. Alrighty, I think that's just about done. We'll add a little more in the middle and to this top flower there, and a tiny bit more down here. So I reckon that's probably pretty good for that layer. Let's have a look. Yep, there you go. So you can see the different shading there. And then we'll come in to mask number 3. So this time we are going with Blackberry Bliss. And again, line up with the notch, but also double checking that it matches with where it should be on the image. Alrighty, so this is the last for the flower, and then we'll move on to the leaves. So this is going to be the darkest one, so start light. And there are, with this one, there are a couple of ones where it's the first layer of colour, so the centre of some of the smaller flowers. So those ones you may want to go darker straight away if you want dark centers just because there's no color on it already, so you probably want a decent bit of color, but up to you, of course. And I will show you how, or the best way to clean these at the end, as well as a little tip on cleaning them, or at least something to be mindful of when you are cleaning, and they are really easy to clean. Alrighty, I think we are just about done with that one. Let's see how it's looking. I think that bit of tape is just about done. So peel that off. So there we go, you got 3 layers of colour there. Now we come into the leaves. So line up with your markings and also the image. Make sure it all matches up. And then we'll get some tape down. So this time we're going to start with Old Olive. And where's my green? There it is. And so you could do the same thing with the leaves if you just want one color, or if you've only got one color, you can add the shading and gradient with just the one color. So I'm not worrying too much about blending everything blending it to get it perfectly even. I want it all nicely blended, but it doesn't have to be even, because uneven coloring is far more natural than everything being the perfect even shade of whatever color you're using. So variation is good, as long as it's all blended nicely. That's the main thing you're looking for. Alrighty, I think we're just about done with that one. Just to make sure that one's got some color on it. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So you could leave it there if you wanted to, or we can bring in number 5. Line that up. Secure everything. And coming in this time with Mossy Meadow. And we'll just add a bit more here. Try and go with Some bits darker, some lighter, as much as we can. It's a lot easier with the first one, so the first flower and first leaf image, just because you've got more room to colour and play with. But I think that's probably about enough. And take that off, and there we go. So nice blended colouring, different shading. Looks far more natural and realistic than just single colour, no shading or anything, and it's much easier and it's a lot of fun. You can just play with different colours and combinations and see how you go. Now, to finish this one off, we are going with just a very simple card for this. I do need to trim this one down a little, I think. Yes, I do. So I need to take just a, I cut this one slightly larger to start, just because there's not a lot of room to move with the image, particularly if you're in Australia and using Australian cardstock sizes. For those in the US, less of an issue, because for your portrait cards they are a little wider than ours, so you've got a bit more room to play with. So I started with just a full size card width or card front size to start. Let's just check how much that's going to trim off. I might need to come back to the first side there. I just want it to be roughly even from top and bottom. That should be fine. There we go. Alrighty, so all that we need to do is add a sentiment. Now, so my sample one, I wanted to do a happy anniversary, but yeah, it's not, doesn't quite fit. That's all right. My other ones that I did are anniversary ones, because I do need a few more, but I will use a different one. And I will also show you a little tip, and I'll show you the two cards to basically get two cards from one image. Once I close my ink pad, it's decided to be a little bit stiff, and now I've got ink all over my hands. Let's just clean that off. Otherwise I will get Blackberry Bliss all over my project in places I don't want it. So I'm just going to move that to the side and just bring in a little bit of rubbing alcohol. It's rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer. Little tip is very good for removing ink. I'm not going to worry too much about getting it completely off. I just want enough to not end up with ink all over my project. So I think that will be enough. Alrighty. So really simple layout for this one. Going with a Blackberry Bliss card base. We're just going to adhere this down Make sure everything is actually the right way up. Alrighty, and then all we are going to do is add some gems. So I'm going to add some of the brushed brass butterflies. So just add a couple of those. And then I'm going to add some of the purple fine shimmer gems, and I'm going to add some of those to the centers of the large flowers there, and then one in a smaller one in that small flower there. And there you have it. So that is the masks with stamping. Now I'll show you some of the other samples that I had. So for the first one, so without the stamping, I did exactly the same thing, just with I used fresh freesia, I can't remember, fresh freesia, petunia pop, and what was the other one? I had it written down. Fresh freesia, petunia pop, and it's hiding from me. Bubble bath, that was it. So bubble bath for the first layer, then fresh freesia, and then petunia pop. So exactly the same technique, just with one extra color. So I did one layer of bubble bath, two of fresh freesia, and one of petunia pop. Now the other ones that I want to show you, so this is the 2 from 1, and I cased this from another demonstrator. So the colors I used for the flowers, petal pink and calypso coral, that's it. So one layer of petal pink and then 2 of calypso coral, and then the leaves were the same as the other one, old olive and mossy meadow. Now what I did with these, so there is a die that cuts out this entire image. There is also one that cuts out that small flower, which, if I come back to this one, let me bring it out. So it cuts out that flower and leaf there. So what you can do, so for this one I've cut out that flower and leaf, and then I've used a stylish shapes die and some of the leaves from the coordinating die set to cover any gaps. So the circle covers most of the gap, but there's still a little bit left, and I just used the leaves and also the old olive linen thread to cover that gap. And obviously you could also go with a larger circle if you wanted to, but I wanted that size for this card, so you just need to add a little bit extra, and you won't be able to see it. And then use that flower to make a second card, and then added some extra die cut flowers to the sides. So that is how you can get 2 from 1. And now let me just bring all these back in. So we've got that one, and where's my blue one? Let me move all my stuff out of the way. I've got a lot of stuff on the desk here. So there we have it. Masks without stamping and masks with stamping. So I hope you enjoyed the projects. I hope you give it a go. If you do, I would love to see what you come up with. So please do share your projects. Remember, I do send out the project recipe cards the Wednesday following this video, so make sure you're on my newsletter list to get that. So head over to handmadeafterdark.com.au to sign up to my newsletter. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please also remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and it also means that you don't miss the upcoming videos. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye. Hi again. Sorry, I just realized I forgot to show you how to clean the mask, and a little hint about doing so. So let's do that now. So you can wash them under the sink and just wipe them dry. That works. That's absolutely fine. And I'd probably recommend doing that at least every now and then. But if you don't have time to do that, or you just, you're doing a bunch and you just need to wipe them down in between, you can just use your chamois. Just need to be careful, particularly with any of the ones that have, like, say this one, you've got these little fine bits that you don't want to damage it. You don't want to accidentally tear those, knock them out of place. So you can use your chamois. Actually, I might do it on the desk, even though it's a bit of a mess on the glass mat. So you can use your chamois to wipe them down. Just be mindful of those fine bits. Don't rub back and forth. You want to go one direction only at least at a time, and be mindful of these. Rather than, say, with these ones coming down this way, you're better off going up, because then you're not going to accidentally catch them and pull them potentially out of place, or even completely off if you're not careful. So you can wipe these down with your chamois, and that will be absolutely fine. If you want to, you can then rinse them under the sink and give them a wipe down after that as well. But the chamois works absolutely fine. Just be careful not to rub back and forth, and be really mindful of all the little fine details, because you don't want to damage those, because then the mask won't work as well. So yeah, just wanted to jump back on and add that to the end of the video, so you know how to clean them and what to look out for. So yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye.